is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome to Left, Right and Center. Now every day comes news that the world may be getting closer to a vaccine against the coronavirus. But even if the vaccine arrives, the challenge is, how does India vaccinate 1.3 billion or 130 crore people? For starters, we need cold chains to transport and store these vaccines at low temperatures. This graphic which we're putting up on the screen is from a government's immunization handbook, and it traces all that is needed every step of the way, from the vaccine manufacturer to air transport to a primary store where it is first kept, to refrigerated insulated vans, then to a state government or state level store, another insulated van that will take it to a district vaccine store, then another insulated van that will take it to a primary healthcare center, and then a vaccine carrier which will then go to a sub center as they're called, and then finally will reach the intended beneficiaries. This is how vaccines are so far being distributed in India, but only certain centers have a freezing capacity, a freezer capacity. We'll come to that in just a second. But the current cold chains we have can only store either vaccines at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade in refrigerators or at -20 to -25 degrees centigrade in freezers. What's the problem with that? Number one, that rules out the vaccine being manufactured by the US-based multinational Pfizer, which needs to be stored at -70 degrees centigrade. We can't bring that and circulate it in India. But we can store and transport the vaccine being developed by the US company Moderna. That needs to be stored at -20 degrees centigrade. We have that capacity, though as the chart shows, we only have freezers till the district level, after which the Moderna vaccine will only be stable at room temperature for 30 days. But the good news though is that the Indian vaccines being developed by Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute most likely can be stored between 2 to 8 degrees, for which we have the equipment till the last mile. But what about the numbers? Can we vaccinate so many people? We have 28,000 cold chains, amongst the largest in the world. Here's the breakdown that comprises of 4 government medical supply depots, 53 state vaccine stores, 110 regional vaccine stores, 666 district vaccine stores, and 25,000 odd sub-district stores, and 2.6 lakh health workers. Now, under India's universal immunization program, which is always going on, we use this chain to vaccinate around 2.6 crore people per year. Experts say we can ramp up to reach 9 crore people. But the health minister has said that he expects 30 crore people will be vaccinated by September of next year. That's already 3 times our annual capacity, on the basis of research compiled by my colleague Meher Pandey. So that's really where we are with the challenge of the vaccine and the challenge of the last mile. Joining us tonight on the show, we have with us Dr. Krishna Ella, CMD Bharat Biotech, which is in the home stretch, I believe, of developing its own vaccine. We have with us Sanjay Sharma, Vice President of Coldman Logistics, which is a private logistics cold chain company. Professor Nirmal Kumar Ganguly, former Director General of ICMR, is with us. Dr. Anjan Trikha, Chairman of Clinical Managerial Group, COVID Center, AIMS, and Dr. Rachna Kucheria, physician and founder of Doc Genie Telemedicine, someone who's been working in the field of public health. Dr. Krishna Ella, just first question to you, the same, which is the focus of the show. We're not getting into where your vaccine is right now, but fingers crossed, we'll hear the good news soon. But if we want to now start distributing yours and other vaccines to 1.3 billion people, as these numbers show, it is quite challenging, is it not?
No, I think, thank you for having me there.
Yes.
Srinivas, I think India has done tremendously well. You know, 25 million children
Yes.
are vaccinated in this country. Okay?
Yes.
So what our health minister is talking about 30 million,
Yes.
okay, is not a big task at all. I think, it's a less of an issue. I can give you 3-4 examples.
Okay.
If you give me a permission for that.
Okay.
We have 3 major costs. When we develop Indian manufacturers, when we develop a vaccine,
Right.
we don't just develop what we want to develop. We
Okay, so
always
sorry, just
develop-
to interrupt, health minister is saying 30 crore people, not 30 million. So that's 300 million people, which is,
Absolutely not a polio.
Yeah. Okay, sorry,
we
go
have
ahead.
Delivered 800,
Yeah.
Polio, we have delivered 800 million doses. 800 million doses of polio in this country.
Okay.
In a 0 to till 9 years old babies been vaccinated, 9 years.
Okay.
Okay. So we have done extremely well in eradicating a polio with all the problem of minus 20 temperature.
okay,
Polio. So I think India has done tremendous well in that the aspect of it. I'll tell you, Indian manufacturers also very innovative. Okay, we don't think what the cold. We always think cold storage, how to deliver the last mile. Otherwise, our all public health system will collapse if we don't deliver properly. So we have done rotavirus vaccine. We have done polio. We are the 80% suppliers of polio vaccine in this country for last
Right.
10 years.
right,
And rotavac, almost 80% again, we supply the rotavirus vaccine, which is minus 20.
okay,
So I'll tell you 3 factors. Your vaccine storage space, if you look at it, single dose, if you want to have a single dose like Moderna, Pfizer, what they're thinking, or any Oxford thinks about single dose vaccine, you need 21,000 square cubic meter of cold space.
okay,
And if it is a 5 dose, it drops by 75% drops the space.
okay,
And if it comes to 10 dose vial, it comes to 10% of the single dose
Okay.
space. So
So
almost
you're
90%
saying,
space.
okay, but hold on, couple of things. Good to hear from you that we have the capacity to do it, but a few quick questions. Number one, as we just saw, Pfizer is much, much colder. It's like, I believe, minus 70. We only have capacity up to minus 25. So Pfizer is out of the picture. We can do others.
Pfizer,
But not Pfizer.
Pfizer is certainly out. Pfizer is out for many reasons. I'll
Okay.
tell you why. Not just only minus 60 to 85 alone. They're also using 0.3 ml.
Okay.
0.3 ml is a very hard dosage in this country. Either we give 0.5 ml or we give 1 ml. This
Okay.
is max. Is a vaccine dosage.
Right.
0.3 ml is very complicated. And then dilute is separate there. Okay.
Okay.
So, and also the vaccine once, and there is no preservative. They're giving multi-dose vial, but there is no preservative. And if you open, if there is a contamination, you are
Okay,
finished.
so, all right. So you're saying Pfizer is for multiple reasons not in the picture, but others, whether it's a Moderna or it's the homegrown vaccines, which you and Serum Institute and others are developing, you believe we have the capacity to push them out to that scale. But do we really? Sanjay Sharma, Vice President, Coldman Logistics. Firstly, are you already getting approached by vaccine makers and the government to get ready for the big push?
Hello. Yeah. So we have been approached by multiple pharma companies with respect to the distribution of the COVID vaccine. So I think what even doctor just said, see, as far as the capacities are concerned, today the numbers that you are mentioning, 9 crore numbers of vaccinations are being done every year. In fact, only 10 to 12% of the cold chain capacities are being utilized as on today. So I think even if the government is ready to ramp up and the logistics players also, they stand by it,
Yeah.
I think the capacities can be doubled and tripled. So the numbers that has been given by
Mike,
yeah.
I'm all for believing that the news is good, but explain to me how. Right now we're doing about 2 crores, 2.5 crores. Ramping up, you can go up to 9 crores. We're talking 30 crores just in the first lot. That's 3 times our ramped up capacity. How are we going to ramp up? I mean, we don't have that much time.
No, correct. See, I'll tell you today, as I told you, both for the storage as well as for the transportation, only 10 to 12% of the cold chain infra is being used today. I mean, there are multiple players. There are about more than 10,000 trucks on road.
Correct.
So we have the sufficient fleet on road. We have the sufficient warehouses in place. It's only that about 10 to 12% is being required as of now. So the
That's
people
right.
have not.
But no, sir. Hence the figure that right now we're only using 10 to 12%. But I believe the projected figure when we ramp up to full capacity will still be 9 to 10 crores. It won't be more than that. But we're talking 30
absolutely, sir.
crores.
Correct. So absolutely what you are saying is the capacities and the warehouses are in place, the trucks are on road. It's only that probably we need to have the kind of a requirement coming in from the pharma companies. So I think more from the production point of view, if the companies are, confident of producing that kind of a quantities over a period of time, we should be able to, I think, transport as well as store that kind of
You believe so?
volumes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible.
Professor Nirmal Ganguli, formerly of ICMR, former DG ICMR, are you as sanguine about us being able to ramp up at this scale?
Actually, there are 2 or 3 problems apart from the cold storage. Like as Dr. Ella said, there is another reason why Pfizer vaccine will not be available here. Their whole production for 2021 has been booked up, and they really didn't plan it for the developing countries. They planned it for developed countries, and they created their cold storage. They created a huge number of refrigerated containers, and they planned it according to the country requirement and distribution. So Pfizer is out. Moderna, as Krishna said, that we have experience, we have minus 20 degrees rotavirus vaccine, which we have efficiently distributed. They are the only rotavirus vaccine which actually goes into program in depth. So minus 20 is possible, and Moderna has also pledged to the COVAX program and the Gavi.
Right.
So we might get 20% of the Moderna vaccine over here. The messenger RNA production could be ramped up. But there are 3.
Okay. One second. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. But when we use terms like messenger RNA and all of that, let's not get too technical, because this is a general audience. So we just want to keep it a bit simple. Sorry.
I understand, but there are some few more problems over here. Few good things that Eminent and Lufthansa. Eminent comes to many cities over here, and Lufthansa also comes to many cities.
Okay.
They have now created a plan for vaccine transportation. So global vaccines will reach Indian cities all around, and the Lufthansa cargo has also planned.
Okay.
And India is one of their central option.
Okay. So you're saying that.
So that particular thing is a good thing.
Okay.
We'll get. But there is one challenge which I will like to.
I'll come back to the challenge in a second, because I need to keep rotating strike. Dr. Trikha, what is your take on this? Because again, I keep saying we've done a great job so far with immunization and all of that, but we're talking at a much bigger scale now. And as I said, there does seem to be a gap between our present capacity and what we're trying to achieve.
Thanks, and I think what you said theoretically is totally right, but you are undermining the potential of the Indian public as such, the Indian government as such. If you remember, we did a program long ago where we had a lot of issues regarding the number of tests and the PPEs. Now it's all taken care of. I know there's a bit of a challenge. I know there's a challenge of cold chain logistics, a last mile distribution, but I can assure you that in the next, if these vaccines are what they are, because we get a lot of news from the net or from the newspapers, and if these vaccines are as efficacious as they tell us to be, then you will see in India, you will be having all vaccines available. India is a huge economy. Pfizer would surely give us some, and maybe Pfizer cannot be distributed all over the country in the rural area. Maybe you get it at certain places, and Moderna at certain places, and Indian ones will also come in. The Russian one, it can also come in. So we'll have a platter of vaccines available to us. We really don't know how long will these vaccines work. They give you an immunity up for 6 months, 4 months, 3 months. Nobody knows.
That's a valid question. That's a tough question. We'll get to that in a second. But tell me, Dr. Rachna Kochhariya, because you are someone who's in the domain of public health, and we know what the last mile of public health infrastructure in this country is. Do you see this as being realistic, that you will be able to distribute so many vaccines at scale? Because remember, you'll also have to train staff at the last mile to be, how do you administer this vaccine, perhaps compared to other vaccines in the past? So,
thank you for having me, Mr. Jain. And I'll perhaps take that question, from the opposite end, from the people who are going to receive this vaccine from their point of view. And I'd like to use my time here to raise a few pertinent questions that should be asked and that people at that point will be asking, even if the logistics and all of that are taken care of. And I can come to that in subsequent questions.
Right.
But the faith of the people, their faith in both the vaccine and the system has to be there for them to be able to accept the vaccine. So I will just expand on the point that was made earlier. What does the vaccine mean? What do the results that have come out so far mean? Vaccine efficacy or efficacy, to put a simple word, how is it working so far? What we're learning is that it reduces symptomatic COVID with symptoms. We haven't heard anything about asymptomatic cases. We are also making an assumption right now. We haven't seen the data that if symptomatic cases are reduced, does that actually mean that you will have less hospitalization, less deaths? So we need a lot of transparency before, I would say, the acceptance at the last mile of the people can be assured. And this is really important for any vaccine program to be successful, that there shouldn't be vaccine hesitancy. If we mess up at that level, where the vaccine is going to be received by the masses, then to do the next round of vaccines, or maybe even the vaccines that we already have, it'll be a much bigger.
That's an important point.
That's a point.
People need to believe, people need to have faith and sign up and get on board with this, which, as you said, is not always easy. It takes a while to build that trust and literacy. But also...
and there we'll have to be very transparent there and translate the data, as you were saying earlier, to very simple language, which makes it easy for people to understand.
Right. Dr. Ella, I think that's an important point, also from the point of view of trying to rationalize expectations, because every time somebody in India or any part of the world looks at the headline and they say Pfizer's got 95% success rate, Moderna's got 95% success rate, they feel a vaccine is around the corner. But, and I think many of you have been saying this, that's not the case. To get vaccines up and running and test them and stress test them and then distribute them to millions, billions of people is going to take time.
I think it's a very good question. As a manufacturers, we're very transparent. Nobody should feel that thing, because we work with a field. People think that taking a vaccine, it's protected. So we are really conscious about that. And every manufacturer is conscious about that.
Right.
So number one. Number two, I want to say is, we always look at it, the safety and immunogenicity and efficacy, a sort of a trade-off, a little bit carefully. You want a high effectiveness, high efficacy, and then safety is compromised. It's also dangerous. So we always look at trade-off, where the balance should be.
So safety.
And we work in that direction.
Okay. So by that you mean the safety of you're talking of the trials now. Of the people who...
Trial, yes, not only trial, even after the post-op licensure also, whether my vaccine can be given to 6 months baby.
Okay.
Whether my vaccine can be given to 65 years old people.
Right, so the safety of... on one hand, the safety that the vaccine gives you, but also, as you're saying, is it efficacy, whether it's effective enough. You've got to balance that out.
Keep in mind, Srinivas, the Pfizer vaccine has not been given to children yet, number one.
Okay.
So we don't know what the safety factor of that is going to be there.
Okay, but on the time,
it's interim data.
Sorry?
It's interim data.
It's interim data,
right?
Okay.
So as the
time factor
will come out, it might go down.
Okay, but on time, on a timeline, as I said, that this chain that we're talking about, all of that only kicks in. I mean, that also gives you a sense of how much time it's going to take to actually push this out. Only by the end of next year, September of 2021, the health minister is saying the target is to reach 30 crore people, which is less than a third of our population. These are the high priority sections, right, that are going to get it first. Healthcare workers, the elderly, those with comorbidities, etc. So it'll take as much as a year just for it to get to a third of the population. So for it to get to everybody, it's going to take a long time.
I don't think it will take too long line. Okay. My feeling is the manufacturers also working very hard. Number one.
Okay.
Manufacturers also working a different platform, different technology platform.
Right.
Even one platform is not scalable, not safety is a little problem. Then you
Okay.
back up with another technology. Everybody's working on different platforms, different ideas.
Okay.
So I think, trust me one thing, Indian vaccine manufacturers far ahead of any other countries in the world. Trust me on that.
No, I'm not
We may not be
disputing
doing
that.
mRNA vaccine, RNA vaccine.
I'm not disputing. I'm just saying that I think everyone needs to be a little realistic about how this is actually going to roll out. But Sanjay Sharma, very quickly, we're running out of time. What is, like, from your point of view, when you talk of scaling up, what are we talking about? If you look at the numbers, I was just looking at it. Yes, we have 28,000 cold chains, but you break it down, like vans, we just have 700 refrigerated vans. That seems like a pretty small amount.
No, I think
we
the
need to
data
scale
that,
up all of these?
No, see, 700 refrigerated vans is what we are talking, could be maybe on the tertiary side of it,
Okay.
from the district headquarters to the villages. But on the primary side, we have large vehicles which can keep about 1 to 1.5 lakh doses in one truck.
Okay.
So that can be ramped up, and this is easily available also. So there are more than 10,000 plus of refrigerated trucks available in the country.
Right.
Of course, since the pharma requirement never came to those volumes, only about 10 to 12% is being utilized.
Okay.
So I think it can be easily shifted. It's not that something has to be created. The infra is already in place. It's
Right.
only that we will have to align it with the pharma manufacturers.
Okay. Well,
Besides,
So be rest assured, I think
you.
minus 20 to plus 20, I don't see any challenge as such.
Okay.
But yeah, minus 70 is something which is not an
That's a tough
established
one.
kind of a temperature range. That's a tough one. So no
okay.
doubt about it.
All right. We're literally, Dr. Ella, you want to say something? We're literally out of time.
I just want just 1 second. That many state governments has got a rabies vaccination program.
Right.
They have their own cold storages.
Right.
That also can be utilized. And also, logistic of vaccination of children and adults can be staggered in such a manner that distribution can be well planned.
Okay.
It's possible.
Let's let's hope for the best. Let's hope for the best. But all the best to all of you. Each of you in your own way is doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much for joining us. Take a short break on Left, Right, and Center, and we come back with the Congress war within has got.